SA auction house Strauss Co has entered a joint venture with online wine merchant, wine seller and top sommelier Hugo Jacobs, who launches a fine wine auctions program, while Strauss Co aims to provide prospective buyers with a selection of South Africa's finest wines curated by the expert and judge Hugo Jacobs, who was previously the chairperson of the South African Sommelier Association. Well, he joins us this morning ahead of the auction alongside Roland Peens, director of the Wine Cellar. Gentlemen, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Pearl. It's wonderful to be here. We're excited. Today is the inaugural Strauss Co Fine Wine Auction, and it's really quite groundbreaking for South Africa because nothing of this nature has really happened before.
And why was it so important to have something like this, where a variety of beautiful, different kinds of wines are on auction?
Well, it's the first time there's a platform for vintage wines that are mature, that are rare, are available to any collector that would like to buy them. For instance, we've got a few dummy bottles here. A 1957 Chateau Libertas, which it might sound it's old. It might not sound very rare, but this wine in fact got a 100 points from a critic. So it's a very fine wine indeed.
All right, and just take us through that other bottle that you have there next to you, Higgins.
Just before I do that, as a point of difference also, we believe that the timing was very important for doing this. So the industry, the South African industry, our wines are as good as anything in the world at the moment. And we believe that the timing is right now to create a secondary platform, because that's when you really regard it as a mature market. So the second wine is called GS Cabernet Sauvignon. This is made by a winemaker called George Spies. And it was made in the 60s, and there were only 2 vintages of it made, and this is the better one. And it's a super rare wine. There's only a handful of bottles remaining. And this is another wine that also received full marks and 100 points by prominent critics. And yeah, we've sold bottles of this before. We estimate the value of that to be around 25 to 35,000 rand.
And also, Hugo, how do you know the value of a wine? I mean, a lot of people think it's ridiculous, number one, that there's some bottles of wine that are very expensive, that there are people who collect bottles of wine, and that there are people who would actually buy bottles or a bottle of wine at an auction. How do we know what the value of a bottle is?
That's actually part of the reason why we're doing this, is to start formalizing the markets and the industry, is to establish these prices. But secondly, there's quite a few indicators that help the current price. So wines like this has a current price, but the GS, as I said before, only were 2 vintages made in the 60s. But we look at the current vintage selling price. We look at rarity, so how much of it is actually produced and how much do we think is available in the market now. And then something like brand equity, how the producer is performing, how the brand is looking in the market. And then the market decides the rest.
And Roland, I mean, what does it cost to list an item on auction? And is there a selection criteria from your side as well, where you sort of curate the type of wines that you will accept?
Yeah, so Hugo's the lead curator, but we think there are auction-worthy wines in the market, and over many decades or many years, wines will achieve brand equity and be able to achieve the rarity and the quality on the auction. So that is very important. It's not just any wine that can get onto the auction. It's really, really fine wines. And remember, Pearl, they must taste good. That's the most important thing. So you have buyers out there looking for really tasty, very rare wines.
And Roland, South African wines are quite popular overseas. Just what are some of your reflections when you take a look at the South African wine industry as a whole? Well,
we're a growing market. 20 years ago, we were almost nowhere in the world of wine, and today the top critics are talking about us, which is fantastic, and that's really what we're trying to do, is just to tell the market that, hey, we're making incredible wines. These are from the past, but today's wines are incredible, and we want to tell the world that South Africa can make great investment-worthy wines.
And so, Hugo, how will it work today with especially the bidders who perhaps maybe want to register? How can they go about doing that?
So I think it's important to mention we've now pulled out 2 highlights, but it really is an auction of highlights. We've got 180 lots, and it was a dream selection, because the other differentiating factor of this auction is that it's open to private sellers to also sell on the platform. So we literally had access to all of the wines that we can dream about. So all of the wines are highlights. There's 180 lots. It starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's at the Strauss head offices in Houghton. And anybody can come and register just before, get a paddle and bid. And it's with the typical Strauss art methodology of auctioning. So it's
All right,
normal
and
auction.
just to close it off, Roland, where do you see this initiative going, this project going? I'm pretty sure there's exciting future plans or dreams about where to take this.
Yes, well, this is a whole program, so this is just the first auction that we're doing, and we're going to be holding one in Cape Town later on in the year, and then many auctions moving forward. And we'd like to get to a point where collectors can buy wine and maybe invest in it, and down the line there'll be some liquidity for them to resell. Fine wine is an investment asset overseas, so why not in South Africa?
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming, and all the best for today.
Great,
Thanks for
thanks,
having
Bill.
us.
Well, the first fine wine auction will be staged by Strauss Co in Johannesburg today, followed by a similar one, as we've just heard from Roland, that will be taking place in Cape Town. That will be around September. We just spoke to Hugo Jacobs, and who's an expert sommelier, alongside Roland Peens, who's director of Wine Cellar. And of course, we were talking everything fermented grapes. Time for us to take a quick break. Do stay with us here on the show.